Hey guys, it's Cayley. I'm back with another What Sold from Last Week video. In today's video, I'm going to be going over my sales on my three main platforms, which are eBay, Poshmark, and Depop. I'll be going over the sales that sold the fastest for the most money, and also just some noteworthy things that I thought you guys might want to know so you can look for while you're at your local thrift store. Let's dive right into the sales. All right, so my fastest sale started with a 0 days to sell, so sold the exact same day, was this La Perla nightgown. You guys know I absolutely love finding stuff in sections that other people don't go to. And the nightgowns intimate section is definitely a place where you can find some really awesome bolos. This is the brand La Perla. It is very high-end designer, typically lingerie, sleepwear. So I included those words designer, luxury. That's kind of the route that I went with this one. This one did unfortunately have a few issues with it, so I made sure to note that and just price competitively with this piece. As you guys know, slip dresses are super trendy. I've mentioned them in a ton of my what sold videos, and so this being a slip dress paired with some interesting details, paired with a designer luxury brand was an absolute yes from me and apparently the buyers as well. Because like I said, it sold the exact same day that I got it listed on an offer for $42. That made my earnings on Poshmark 33.60. Had a really great week on Poshmark, not the normal for me. I actually think the past 2 weeks, Poshmark and Depop have really been picking up the sales that eBay is lacking for me. And I've seen a lot of you guys talking about slower sales on eBay over the last, I would say, month and asking me my opinion on it. And my opinion is always there are ebb and flows. And as long as my other platforms are making up for that money, I'm not too concerned because the same thing happens in reverse with the other platforms. Sometimes Poshmark will be super slow and eBay will take up my sales. And that's why, as an experienced seller, if you're somebody that knows what you're doing, I think cross posting is really helpful because it allows you to not have all of your eggs in one basket and give you a slight booster. Don't really recommend it for beginners. I think it's an overcomplication, but if you're an experienced seller, cross posting, especially during summer slowdown, which we are in right now, it is a great way to bump up sales. And I do that by using Nifty, which is a cross listing service. It is the one that makes it the fastest for me to get everything cross-listed. So that's what I'm using as one tactic to combat slower sales. And it's definitely working. And I'm not worried when eBay's a little slow. All right, next up, this is another one that sold the exact same day that I got it listed. This is the brand Free Fly. This used to be a brand that had over a 100% sell-through rate. It does not anymore, but some of their pieces still do, like their hoodies have an elevated sell-through rate. And then I also think no matter the piece, if you price competitively, you can probably get it to move because people are looking for bamboo, which is what this brand is known for. And a hoodie is a more substantial piece. So this is a men's free fly hoodie. I didn't have to use very many keywords to get this to sell just because it's a brand-based flip with a good backing, but I did use keywords like lightweight and bamboo. I listed this originally for I think around $30 on Poshmark to account for offers. I accepted an offer of 22 the exact same day that I got it listed, and that made my earnings 17.60. I'm all about that quick flip. I do not want to go back and forth with the buyer. If it fits the constitution of what I expect for an item, I go ahead and accept. All right, next one. This one also sold the exact same day that I got it listed. I know for a fact that this has a crazy, insane sell-through rate because I just picked this up from the bins a couple of weeks ago. We are like sourced ahead and we list ahead of time. So that's why I picked it up a little while ago. But it's fresh enough that I remember comping this and looking at Nikki. We were thrifting together and being like, I cannot believe the sell-through rate of these smart wool bras. It is just insane. First of all, I didn't even know until I did a bra deep dive in Reseller's Edge a few months back that smart wool and all of these merino wool brands actually make bras. So that was news to me to begin with. And then much less to actually find it and see the crazy insane sell-through rate in the dead of summer is wild. You should definitely look that up. But I knew this would sell quickly, was not aware that it would sell like the exact same day. So that was cool. And I definitely think this is something people are going to overlook because look how plain this is. I don't often go looking for sports bras, especially not ones as plain as this. And had I not seen that logo in the back, I would have definitely missed it. This was in a picked over bin, so tons of people missed it. I listed this for $35. That's about what they were going for. And Nifty sends out automatic offers to watchers. Somebody accepted an offer of $29 on this bra. And that made my earnings $23.20. And since I got it at the bins, I probably made about $22 on a bra, which is really cool. Okay, next up is a Depop sale. This one also sold the exact same day that I got it listed. This is completely style based. This is not a brand at all I'm familiar with. It's called Mary and Mo. I will say, even though not a really well-known brand, it did feel higher quality to me. And that's one of the reasons that I chose to price this one up, as well as a good combination of factors that I could lean into popular trending aesthetics. I chose to take this one very whimsy goth, witchy, and that double tie in the front is a factor that I'm noticing a lot of people like. It's trending. So it's definitely something I would consider while you're out. So with everything involved, I decided to price a little bit higher, listed this for around $40 on Depop, accepted an offer of $32 the exact same day that I got it listed. Oh, sorry. No, I listed this for $32. It sold on an offer to watcher automatically through Nifty for a percentage off, making the sale $27.20 for the item. I got confused looking at my notes here. Got a bunch of stuff for you guys. That made my order earnings on Depop $22.50 on this piece, which is fantastic for a style-based piece that everybody passes on. All right, next up, you guys might recognize this from that super awesome thrift haul I shared with you guys where I just had a really good train of thrift stores one day that's just had great items, and I went sourcing kind of late that day. This was part of that haul, and a lot of stuff has started to sell now that we've gotten it listed. This is an Ala Yoga men's hoodie. Now, Ala Yoga in general, very high sell-through rate brand right now, but the men's stuff, there's less stuff on the market, so higher demand for it. So you're typically going to get more. I don't find a lot of men's Alo Yoga stuff, but very happy to find this. So this is also easily overlooked because it's pretty plain hoodie. This was on a new rack. I noticed the Aloe spell out there and I looked it up. This was called the Accolade hoodie. It was also a larger size, so helped to elevate the price of this for me, just higher demand on the larger sizes. Again, didn't have to use many keywords to get this to sell, but I did put logo, spell out, and thick, as well as the style name. This one I had listed for around $60 on Poshmark, and I accepted an offer of $46. This one only took 3 days to sell. That made my earnings $36.80 on Poshmark. All right, another super quick sale. This one only took 3 days to sell. This is a Y2K Armani, which, used to be like a designer luxury brand. I don't think it is anymore, or like it is, but that not as much demand for it. But with that higher end brand paired with it being Y2K really helped to elevate, this sale. So pretty cool piece. It was also a linen blend, which I think helped to elevate the value because otherwise the dress is pretty plain. I listed this for around $40 on Poshmark, and I accepted an offer of $32 in just 3 days. That made my earnings $25.60. I put the materials in here. I also used the keyword Y2K and baby doll for this one. Next up, this was one of my favorite sales. This is a Depop sale. This one is a no-name brand. I'll show you the tag just in case you want to see it. Not a high demand brand, but I noticed that it was a Y2K top. It was also silk, and it had some stunning features to it. Lots and lots and lots of things that Y2K buyers are looking for. I heavily leaned this into the fairy aesthetic, and because of all of the great factors that I know the fairy Y2K buyer is looking for are in this one piece, I priced pretty high, and I listed this for, actually, I think when I cross-posted Depop and Poshmark, I add a few bucks just to account for offers. I think my full price was actually, it was listed for 60, and then someone sent me an offer just 3 days later for $48, which I went ahead and accepted because that's about what I expected to get on eBay. That made my order earnings $40.06. Such a beautiful piece. Next up, another Poshmark sale. This one is a Patricia Nash bag. I do think that this is a really good brand to know. Here is their logo. I think I showed them in the last What Sold video as well. I've been getting quite a bit of Patricia Nash, not only stuff that I found, but also from some of my wholesalers and stuff they've thrifted. And so selling a lot of them because it's a great brand. They're known for their pretty high quality leathers. This is one of their leather backpacks. And just in general, regardless of brand, if you see a real leather backpack, it is always worth looking up regardless of brand. There are tons of brands that you wouldn't think would be good and aren't really that good. But if you find them in a leather backpack, elevated demand, elevated pricing, this one would have sold for way, way more. Unfortunately, it did have quite a bit of wear throughout it, so I had to be mindful with pricing because of that. I put the style name in the title as well as keywords such as travel and adjustable. This one ended up selling on an offer for $35, and that made my earnings 28 on Posh. All right, you guys may have already seen this because I made a post on Instagram about this, but this is one of the highest sales that I had. I think it was the highest sale last week. This one was also one of my quickest sales, so it made it to the quick one. This only took 5 days to sell. This is that rare Coach bag that I found for, I think it was only priced at like $10.99 or something crazy like that. These Y2K Coach bags, first of all, the style, very, very trendy. I've mentioned that on several videos with you guys on what to source. But specifically, if you find unique colors, you might want to investigate further. So I figured out that this one was rare, and I shared it when I found it at the thrift store and all over social media. I'm on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and here on YouTube, and the comments were just wild. I had people telling me this isn't a rare item. I had people telling me it was fake. I had people telling me there's no way I can price that much, that comps don't show that, even though I literally had like exact comps. So don't listen to what people tell you on the internet. Like even me, do the research yourself because it is just insane out there of what people say shouldn't be happening. But we defy odds every single day here on this channel and hopefully in your own businesses. So I listed this pretty high at around $300, expecting to get somewhere between $200 and $250 after I did all of my research. It ended up selling in just 5 days on Poshmark for an offer of $255, which I accepted. For all of those 5 days, I was receiving multiple, many offers on all platforms, and I was holding out for a little bit of a better offer. I got a lot of 150s and 200s, but as soon as I saw the 250 mark, I went ahead and accepted. So that was very exciting. But yeah, this is a very rare color and bag. It is real, and the buyer has already left me positive feedback. So excellent sale. I'm very happy with that. I don't come across these very often, but I will say I have found, I would say maybe quarterly, which I don't consider to be often, but I do find like some pretty good high value Y2K Coach bags about once a quarter. So definitely keep your eye out for it. They are out there. I also got a lot of comments saying my thrift store would never price that for $11. This slipped through somebody's hands. That's the point. You want to catch when thrift stores, don't know the value of something. That's like what reselling is. So this thrift store that I actually got this at typically does price stuff up, and it just so happened this was hung up on an aisle. Tons of people had walked by it. Nobody got it. It happens. You just have to be aware of what the good items are. That way, when it does happen, you can snatch them up. All right. And the last quick sale, this one's more bread and butter, but it was one of my quickest, so I wanted to share it. This only took 6 days to sell. This is a Quacker Factory shirt. It is one of my favorite brands to get in plus sizes. I do think I have to be pickier these days, and I do look up, generally speaking, like what's the graphic on it. Lobsters, very trendy for me. I sell lots of lobster stuff, so I knew that this was going to be good. It was also a size 3X, which is one of my better sizes for plus sizes, and I listed this for $29 on Depop. Like I said, nifty. I have automatically set up on each platform. You can customize it for each platform. And so for each platform, I have offer settings set up, and this is how this one sold. Somebody liked the item. Actually, there's literally one like. That's how Nifty works, or any cross-posting tool you use. If it's quick enough and you set up automatic stuff, one person likes it. All it takes is one, automatically sends out an offer to them, and they accepted. Their offer was $24.65 with that percentage off, and that made my earnings $20.37. All right, so all of those items sold in a week or less. Now let's dive into some of my higher priced sales. I already showed you guys a couple of them just because they sold quickly, like that Coach bag. But here's some of the other ones you haven't seen yet. So this is an Arc'teryx jacket. Fantastic brand. Would probably get in just about anything. Very high sell-through rate, but obviously outerwear pieces going to be very, very pricey. I have found Arc'teryx many, many times just by seeing the logo alone, so they do get passed over pretty often. This one I actually got through consignment, and it took a little bit longer to sell than I would have liked. This took 127 days to sell, so over my 90-day goal, but with profits like this, who cares, right? It's Arc'teryx. I don't remember what I had this priced out on Poshmark, but it ended up selling on an offer for $148, and that made order earnings on Poshmark $118.40. Since this is consignment, I will get half of the net profits. All right, next up, one of my other highest price sales. This one was actually a really quick sale. It only took 21 days to sell, which even if you can get something to sell in 90 days, like that's pretty good. That's pretty quick. So less than a month, insane. Some of the $0 ones, like, wow. This one was also one of my favorite sales because I actually picked this J. Crew men's roll neck sweater up at the bins. A lot of people passed on this at the bins, did not want it because there were many holes through it. The back neck seam was coming undone. I went ahead and picked it up because I knew how valuable the piece was, and Nikki patched up a couple of the holes for me. So I made sure to describe that. You can even see here the condition is fair. So made sure to be very transparent, and I also price dropped because of that. So let the buyer know, gave them a good deal, and I still listed this for $75. That's how much demand there was for this sweater. This one I ended up sending out, well, I didn't, again, Nifty did automatically and capture that sale really quickly, an offer to watcher, and in 21 days, it sold for $67.39. That made my earnings $51.55. That is $50 of net profit that I wouldn't have had I left that behind at the bins. And this is really like one of the core things that my business is about, what I try to make my channel about too, is you want to be more knowledgeable than everybody else at the thrift store, the bins, yard sales, wherever, even online because of stuff like this. There is so much that people are passing on. It's just insane to me how much stuff people just don't know about. And so my goal was always to be the most knowledgeable reseller. All right, next up, another super quick one. This one sold in 76 days, so definitely well below my goal. This is the brand, I don't know if it's Raga or Raga, but it's a brand that's sometimes sold at Anthropologie. And anytime I see an Anthropologie brand in a longer length dress, meaning midi or maxi, I'm always looking into it. So this one was called the Gwyneth maxi dress, and it had some really great comps. I listed this for $60. It did sell for my full asking price, and that made my order earnings on eBay $45.69. Another dress that sold and one of my higher ones, this is a Reformation dress that I listed everywhere, but it sold on Depop. Reformation, excellent brand to pick up. They are most well known for their dresses. That's probably where you're going to get the best money, but typically not this style of dress. So typically it's going to be their like slip looking dresses, typically longer length. This one was kind of an outlier. I believe I got this for just a few bucks from a reseller buyout. So we had a reseller reach out to us who had some great inventory. Usually when people reach out to me for buyouts, it's like all the stuff that didn't sell. And I don't typically end up getting a whole bunch of stuff. But this seller reached out to us first before running any like major discounts or anything on their store. And a lot of the stuff that she sold to us has been selling. And I believe this is one of those pieces. So very happy with that. It was new with tags. It was called the Natalie knit dress. And so even though it was kind of an outlier because it was new with tags and it was also a size extra large, still went ahead and got this one. I listed this for $80 on Depop. This one took 155 days to sell, so a little bit longer than I would have liked, but it did end up selling on an offer that somebody sent me for 50. I went ahead and accepted since it was past my 90-day goal, and that made my earnings 41.76. Looking back, I wish I would have just initially priced lower to get it to move quicker because that is my goal, to keep that cash flow going and just move things quickly. That's how my business, works and feels good. So I definitely am happy with that sale, but yeah, would have definitely priced it lower. It's just also like, it's such a good, that's why I show pieces like this on my channel and also show you like the fastest sales of like the random bread and butter things you would never think of, because oftentimes the higher end brands are not what sells the quickest. A lot of people have that misconception, but if you want like your business chugging along and positive cash flow, don't don't bet your businesses on brands like this. It's not going to work. I like to do a mix. All right. Next up, another higher price sale. This one was a super quick flip. This is a Brahmin wallet. I actually just found a Brahmin bag, which I'm pricing very high, myself at a thrift store, but I also was offered some Brahmin, I'll call them accessories, like multiple wallets from a wholesaler that we have. So this is a Brahmin alligator embossed leather wallet. Brahmin is a designer bag. It tends to have a pretty decent sell-through rate depending on what you have. I will say the like alligator or snake embossed stuff seems to be like elevated demand in it. And so made sure to put all of that in the title. This one we listed for $50. It did have some condition issues and it sold in just 14 days for our full asking price. That made order earnings $38.01 on eBay. All right, next up, another super quick sale. This one sold in just 16 days, so a couple weeks after being listed. This is 511 Tactical. I no longer pick up everything in this brand, but there are bolos within the brand. This is a men's kilt. They surprisingly have a really good sell-through rate. I don't think you'll come across them often, but I wanted to make sure to show this to you. Kilts in general, I would look up. So this is a 511 tactical kilt. I use keywords such as utility and military just because of the color. Listed this for 50 bucks and it sold in just a couple weeks for full asking price. That made my order earnings $36.95 on eBay. All right, next up, this is another higher price sale. This one actually took longer than 90 days to sell. This is the brand Kajus, KJUS, higher end kind of athletic outdoorsy brand. Doesn't always have the highest sell-through rate, but if you price it correctly, it moves. I thought I did price it competitively enough that it was going to move, but it still took a little bit longer than 90 days. Still a great flip though. This one was new with tags. This was a vest. It was called the Zip Up Radiation Vest. I assume it's probably like a UPF style. And I listed this for $55 on eBay. It sold on an offer to watcher for $49.50, and that made my order earnings $38.18. Next up, a brand I've been selling a ton of, Lily Pulitzer, favorite one of my top favorite brands to sell during spring and summer. Um, this one is kind of an outlier, kind of outside what they normally do. It's not a wacky multicolor print, but it is a linen top. And I find that their linen stuff does really well because they're known for being like that beachy, resort wear, preppy, hotter weather kind of a thing. So linen does pretty good. Easy to overlook too if it's not your traditional Lily Pulitzer. So this is a Lily Pulitzer Holly linen tunic top. It was also a size extra large, which is going to increase demand and ASP for me. This one only took 34 days to sell, so about a month, and it did sell for my full asking price of around $45. This made my order earnings $34.61 on eBay. All right, next up, this one was my last higher price sale. This one sold for $40. I had it listed on Depop for 50. This one is another designer brand. This is Raquel Allegra. I come across this fairly often. The sell-through rate is pretty bad on most things. I find that you have to price it very competitively to get it to move, but I did like this one because it had that like fairy grunge, whimsy goth, witchy look to it. And so that is how we marketed it, but we did have to price pretty competitively to make sure it moved. This actually took 181 days to sell, even with that competitive price. So I should have probably gone even lower. And it ended up selling for $40, and that made my order earnings on Depop 38.12. So still a good flip, but definitely would have preferred to flip it quicker, obviously. All right. So those were my fastest and highest price sales. I want to move on to our noteworthy section to just chat about anything that didn't fall into the first two categories that I thought you guys might want to look for. A lot of these I think are just like repetition. I want to make sure you guys see these brands or styles enough in my videos that you remember them because they're pretty easy to come across. This is the brand Quince. It is a very high sell-through rate brand and pretty easy to find at thrift stores. There's a lot of it out there right now. I don't know how long the demand is going to stay this high, but it's been holding strong for a while, and I find Quince pretty often. Their pieces are typically pretty plain. They sell in multiple different categories, so keep your eye out for them. This is a ruffled tiered midi dress, so a little bit more substantial of a piece, so priced higher at $40. It took only 31 days to sell for my full asking price, and that made my earnings $30.57. I've also been very pleasantly surprised about North Face recently. North Face was a brand that unless it was like real down puffer jacket, like I could not find good comps for anything. But lately, I have been coming across some styles that perform pretty well in pants, in jackets, and different things. So I would say it's definitely worth at least lensing or looking up the style number 4 and looking that up, but I have found it recently to have an elevated demand. This one was called the Nylon Antura Rain Jacket. So nylon style jacket, women's floral. And yeah, surprisingly really good demand on this one. I listed this one for around $40 on Poshmark and I accepted an offer of $35. This only took 27 days to sell, and that made my order earnings $28 on Posh. All right, another thing I think you guys need to be on the hunt for, this is the brand Joseph Seibel. This brand makes comfort style shoes. They typically use higher quality leathers. If you look up the sell-through rate on these, not a 100% sell-through rate, but I can always sell these super quickly in my store. I've been selling them for years. So it is just one I want to put on your radar. These ones were a decent size too. They were size 8 US. Their stuff is in European sizing, so you have to convert, but they have a size chart. Pair of like hook and loop strappy sandals. I listed these for $35. They sold in just 16 days. So despite a pretty poor sell-through rate, quick flips for me. I typically sell them between 35 and 40. And yeah, 16 days to sell. They sold on one of those offer to watchers that Nifty sends out for me for $31.39. That made my earnings $23.29. Another one you guys definitely want to look out for, especially during this time of the year, is Rip Skirt Hawaii. They have Velcro style wraparound skirts is what they're known for. They are typically pretty plain looking. This one has a print, but once you come across one, like you'll see them all the time. They have a very specific feel, a very specific look to them. They make different lengths of skirts. The ones that I find are usually the shorter lengths like this, but they perform very well. I typically sell them between $30 and $40. This one is a shorter size, but it is a larger size, and this sold on an offer for $30. It only took 53 days to sell. That made my order earnings on Poshmark $24. Another brand that has surprisingly been doing really well for me is Halara, which is kind of like a fast fashion athletic wear brand. Now they're kind of into athleisure style stuff, and then I've seen some like other stuff come out. This is a maxi dress with like ruche details to it, and it's actually pre-owned and it sold for $30 on Poshmark. I'm typically getting 20 to 25 on pre-owned Halara pieces. So this is kind of an outlier, but very high sell-through rate on Halara. If you look up the brand as a whole, it's doing pretty well. This took just 60 days to sell on an offer for 30, and that made my earnings on Poshmark $24. All right, this is another bolo to be on the hunt for. This is Victoria's Secret. It is called the Bombshell Bra. Victoria's Secret, not very many of their bras have a high demand anymore, but this specific style does. It has major heavy padding in it, so it's pretty easy to identify. It's supposed to grow you by 2 cup sizes or something like that. So if you see a heavy, very padded Victoria's Secret bra, chances are it is worth looking into, and it's probably the Bombshell bra. You can confirm by looking on the inside. I have this listed for $35 on Poshmark, which is crazy for a pre-owned bra. That's how popular they are. It took just 16 days to sell, and someone sent me an offer for 27, which I accepted. That made my earnings $21.60. All right, and just a few like bread and butter style-based stuff that I've been selling just because I don't show you guys as many of those recently, but they're definitely like foundational to my consistent sales. I obviously, as you see, love finding and selling high sell-through rate brand-based stuff, but I also supplement sales, especially during this time of the year, with bread and butter style-based stuff. If I'm coming across it, I want to pick it up. I don't want to pass on it. So here's a few of those really quickly. This one is a Forever 21 just open knit crochet top. I leaned this into like festival boho, and this sold for around $22, making my earnings $17.26. This one sold on eBay. The next one sold on Poshmark. This is actually Shein. I dropped it out of the title just to make more room for keywords, but I do include it in my pictures, and I also pick it for the brand dropdown so the buyer is not surprised when they get it. And this one is a little brown top that I leaned into Renaissance and Whimsy Goth, and it sold for $22 as well. This one sold on Poshmark. That made my earnings $17.60. And then here's another one. I can't remember if this is Walmart or Target or Kohl's or what, but it's the brand Abound. Come across it pretty often. This one also sold for 22. Lots of $22 sales. This one is a pair of wide leg linen pants. I've mentioned in videos before, but wide leg linen pants have been a killer factor stacking situation for me in just about anything. So I really loved finding these and being able to flip them for pretty decent money. These ones sold on Poshmark. That made my earnings $17.60. Yeah, pretty plain pants, right? Not even super wide leg, but wide leg enough, and linen. So that's really all it took. All right. Lastly, I want to finish with 3 items that didn't go according to plan and things I would not do in the future. This one is an American Eagle cardigan. This one is a women's cardigan, and I do like selling Y2K American Eagle even in women's. But I mentioned to you guys before, the sweaters don't do as well for me. This one was one I tried to lean into Y2K and preppy and 90s. I even had twee in the description, but I think this dark grungy green just really took away from that like preppiness of the item. There was just too many conflicting factors. It was also a size small, which can be good for Y2K, but I think it just made the pictures look really weird. Everything's bunched up. It's dark. It's just not one of the top trending things that I look for anymore. I'm traditionally sticking to tops and dresses for women's Y2K stuff. This still ended up selling for $23 on Poshmark. However, it took 239 days to sell, so almost a full year, and that made my earnings $18.40. I won't be doing that again. This is also another style-based flip that did not go right. This is a no-name, literally unbranded, pair of leggings. We tried to flip these into like whimsy goth or fairy grunge leggings. They did end up selling for $22 on Poshmark, but they took 224 days to sell. So again, about a year, and that made my earnings 1760. Won't be doing this again. I do find with style-based stuff, generally speaking, unless it's skirts, bottoms, pants, shorts and things, very few things you can style-based sell in pants. And so not doing great with that. So I'll be sticking to tops and dresses and skirts for the whimsical stuff, but not leggings, pants, shorts, or anything like that. And lastly, another situation that didn't work out. This is a factor stacking situation. So for a while, I was testing out wide leg pull-on pants, especially in larger sizes. As I mentioned before, linen wide leg pants right now, great factor stacking combination. I tried to see if I could squeeze it even further by just doing rayon, so no linen, not panning out for me. I ended up kind of revamping the listing, putting an AI model on it. It still didn't move. I did everything I felt like I could for these, but because they weren't linen wide leg pants, it did not work. So lesson learned on these. I ended up accepting an offer of $11 on these just because so much time had passed. It was 168 days after I'd listed it. So I accepted $11 to get my money back, and that made my earnings $8.05. All right, you guys, so that's it for What Sold this week. I hope that you enjoyed watching. If you're not already, consider subscribing down below. I do these What Sold videos every single week, and I share what sells quickly for the most money and just some things that you guys might want to look out for. So if you want to stay up to date on what buyers are currently purchasing on all three of those platforms, consider subscribing down below. I also want to know, did you guys sell anything noteworthy in your own store last week? I love reading your comments and seeing what you guys are selling too, so drop them in the comments down below if you have something special. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!